All right. Well, it looks like the recording started, so I will go ahead and get started. Just for everyone's awareness, we are recording this training. It will be available to be emailed to you if you would like a copy of it later on, just to reference. There is something new for everybody today, so we're excited for all of you returning volunteers to update you on the exciting new elements to this process, new grant management system, which is really exciting. And for everyone that's new to the CERT process, and this is your first time, welcome. We are so excited to have you. I am going to just run through our agenda real quick, and then I will have the United Way team introduce themselves, and then we'll dive right into it. So after we do introductions, while the team is introducing themselves, if you all wouldn't mind utilizing the chat function to introduce yourself and what organization you're with and your role there, and whether you're a new or returning volunteer, that would be great. Then we will kind of dive into some of the challenges and goals, challenges that we have been experiencing in our community, and some goals that we have had set from our last community care fund. So for those of you that are returning, it'll be a nice kind of touch point to see what your time and energy investing into our community has come back, and kind of show where we're at halfway through that. Then we'll give you some of the process updates and how this year is going to look a little different. I'll go through the meetings and the timeline to give everyone kind of an idea of what your commitment is going to look like. The hours we anticipate will be going into everything, the different kind of meetings you'll participate in. And then, like I said, a new grant management system. We will be scoring and reading the applications in WiseHive. And I will actually be going in live and showing you the portal, how to log in and set up your account, and what it will look like when you are reviewing your application and scoring it in the portal. So super excited to do that. For those of you that have used EC Impact, I think you're going to be very, very happy with how this is set up. I know our team sure is. And then we will also talk about the scoring and the metrics. So what the actual application review is going to look like, the tools that you'll be using to score them and bring into the meetings you'll participate in. And then we'll just wrap it up with some next steps and contact information. So throughout the process of this training, if you would like to utilize the chat function for questions, we will be stopping every few slides to check in. Otherwise, I will go ahead and start with introductions. My name is Tiffany Howard. I am the manager for our community investments team here. I specifically oversee our basic needs portfolio. So a lot of those shelter and housing, food, and crisis intervention programs. So I see some familiar faces, and I'm excited to have you back. Allie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everybody. I am Allie Willett. I'm also a community investment manager here at United Way, and I oversee our financial stability and education buckets. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Meg.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you. I'm Meg Blue. I am our Director for Community Investments. Super excited to see so many familiar faces and new ones. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat if you want a copy of the recording or a copy of the PowerPoint slides as well. We can go ahead and send those out for your reference. I also want to introduce, we have a member of our team who couldn't make it today, but I think had reached out to many of you to confirm your participation, Jonathan Crossley. He is our community liaison. We're super excited to have him on board, but unfortunately he had a conflict today. So that is Jonathan and myself, and I will go ahead and pass it over to Lauren to introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, I'm Lauren Kimball. I'm the Assistant Vice President for our team here. Just want to echo the thanks that you've already heard for you all being here and joining us today and committing to being part of this process. We have, just for your reference, over 140 folks that are volunteering to be part of this community investment process. So you are part of a powerful community voice that's working to decide how to invest these dollars. So you're in great hands with the team, Tiffany, Allie, Meg, and Jonathan. So feel free to use them throughout this process. And, you know, they're going to go over some of the enhancements and updates that we've made. But really the focus of the process is pretty much the same if you're returning, but there are updates that we've made to integrate your feedback into the process, and we hope you find those to be helpful and even enhancing an already better process. So appreciate everything that y'all are doing. And I know we have some other folks from the United Way team that are on, because this is really a team effort in terms of our marketing, our donor engagement. Everybody is engaged in this process. So just want to give a shout out to them who are also on the call, our data team, et cetera. Everybody's all hands on deck, as well as you guys, to make sure this is a great process for you. So I'll pass it back to Tiffany to get us going.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren and team. This is something that I am super passionate about. My team knows that I'm kind of the cert nerd. This is something I really love. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share that with you all today. We are going to start by going over some of the challenges that our community is facing and how those have kind of shifted and what we are currently seeing. And we're going to have Allie go over that. So Allie, if you would like to take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Tiffany. Yeah, so as we're walking into our review process, wanting to kind of chat about some of the unique challenges that our team has seen our community face. So some of the things that our agencies have been reporting out on us, you know, what they're seeing in the community. First of all, being a struggle to access affordable housing for families, which is having a big impact not only on those individuals, but also on the shelters, as they're seeing folks needing to stay for longer durations of time. Another area of challenge that we're seeing is behavioral health. You know, this is a challenge that's plaguing a lot of people, but we're also seeing some nuance here in that it's affecting folks of younger and younger ages. And then another area that we're seeing a lot of challenge would be, you know, lack of access to quality, affordable childcare, which of course is impacting families, but it's also impacting the workforce. So you're going to see kind of this variety of needs that our community is facing represented through our different priority buckets, and then how the team structures are broken down, which Tiffany is going to go into more in detail in a bit. Those are kind of the challenges that we're looking at. Now we kind of want to look at, you know, the goals that our previous cycle has accomplished. So perfect. So if we look at this slide here, this is really an opportunity for those of you who are returning volunteers to see where those hours of work that you put in are going out into the community and making a big impact. So the data here on this slide is from the 2022-2023 year. You know, data for 2023 through 2024 will be made available at the end of the fiscal year once we're done collecting that data. But just kind of wanting to shout out some of the categories here. You know, you can see that through all of United Way's various funding streams, all of the goals have not only been met, but exceeded. And really want to shout out the basic needs category here. You know, 8.8 million meals were provided, and we know that those are no small potatoes, and that's really making an impact for families and folks out there. And then another one to shout out would be the shelter nights provided. They did not only meet that goal, but exceeded it. And that's while facing the challenges that I was just chatting about on the last slide, with folks needing to stay for longer amounts of time and also dealing with, you know, staff capacity limitations. That's kind of the progress that we're seeing from our previous cycle. And now I want to chat about this upcoming cycle and what we're walking into here and some of the new features. So first thing, wanted to point out, obviously the amount that we have to distribute is still represented by an X, as we have campaigns that are ongoing right now, but you will find out your team's funding budget at your team's final funding meeting. So to chat about some of the new features of this cycle, first of all, being the grant management software change. As Tiffany mentioned, this came as direct result from returning volunteers' feedback that we wanted to have a more streamlined process, something a little more user-friendly. And like Tiffany said, our team is all very excited about WiseHive, so hopefully you will be too after she does her walkthrough. Another new element this cycle would be the addition of the LOI and due diligence process. We knew that this was going to be an extremely competitive cycle, and we wanted to give agencies and their programs the best chance to succeed in it. So we asked each program to submit an LOI, and then from there, our team was able to meet with each program individually to chat about their LOI, ask any clarifying questions we may have had, and also offer any recommendations that we would have going forward into their application to really help paint a full picture of their program for you, for our volunteers. And then another addition this year would be award minimums. So this year we asked programs to request no less than 25,000, which really came from a heart of wanting to make sure that every dollar invested through the Community Care Fund is making a sizable impact. And then our last exciting update would be the addition of the grassroots and emerging programs team. This really came from an effort of wanting to embed a little more equity into our process and allowing those new programs that don't have that historic data or relationship with United Way to compete amongst themselves and to have a shot at getting their foot in the door. So now we've kind of talked about the overview of the process. Now Tiffany is going to get into the details and I'll let Tiffany take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Allie. I also want to take an opportunity before we dive into kind of more of the nitty gritty to just thank our donors. The Community Care Fund is made up of undesignated funds provided by donors. So this is just such an incredible opportunity, and thank you so much for sharing your treasure and allowing us to invest into our community on your behalf. So we will now talk about what the applications and the LOIs and due diligence meetings, how they came in and kind of shook out. So we received 222 LOIs initially. And that means that the community investment teams met with 222 people. So we met with every single person who submitted an LOI to review their program, get as much information as we could, and provide them with as much feedback as possible. You might hear me foot stomp this a little bit, but this is going to be an incredibly competitive cycle, and we wanted to give everyone the opportunity to put their best foot forward. So out of that 222, 75 of those were new programs that have never been previously funded by United Way before. How things kind of shook out of the applications that were submitted and programs and organizations that were invited to apply for this round of funding. It came in at 152. Returning programs make up 141 of those, while new programs make up 11. And the request total for all of that combined currently stands at about 2.9 million. That's going to shake out to about 16 teams. It's going to be a lot of really wonderful and deep, exciting conversations. You can see here on the right that we have this blue section here. These are our basic needs teams. We have our three main buckets, which are basic needs, education, and financial stability. And the blue represents basic needs. Each of those will probably have their own team. In the red, we have that grassroots and emerging, which is kind of its own little team. In the orange, we have our education programs. And then in the yellow, we have our financial stability programs. Now, each square doesn't necessarily represent its own team. For example, employment and entrepreneurship will be one team, and that's just due to the amount of applications that came in under each category. We didn't receive enough for it to be its own team, so together the number of applications will make one good solid chunk. So you might see some things put together, but we're looking at probably about 16 teams, and that will look pretty similar to what you see here. Right. Okay, before I get into the process, do we have any questions from the chat, or Does anyone want to come off mute and ask any clarifying questions?
We are good in the chat right now, but I will continue monitoring. Oh, it looks like Eva just popped up with a question. How are we assigned to a team? So you will be, after the recording today, you will receive a bulk email in which you will get a link that Tiffany will go through to create your profile in WiseHive, as well as to complete a survey in which we will ask you about maybe 2 of your top areas of interest. So we will try to assign you based on the areas that you report out on that you're interested in. We can't make guarantees just based on the number of volunteers and the number of applications and how that might shake out, but we will do our best to assign you from there. So be on the lookout. Tiffany will go through that a little bit later on, but be on the lookout for that link. And then Angela asked, how do we get a copy of the slides? Please just reach out to me. I will send you that copy. I put my email in the chat a little earlier on, so you can just email me directly and I would be happy to send those to you. But that is everything we have in the chat right now.
Awesome, thank you. Also, when it comes to what team you would like to be on, there's always the option, like if you're interested in learning something new in a new area, you can just put where you're needed most. Sometimes some teams are really popular, and sometimes we just need extra bodies on certain teams. So we're happy to assign people as well if they don't have a preference or would just like to be where we have the most need. So I will kind of dive into the process and time commitment, let you guys know what you're in for. You are currently here receiving training virtually. After this meeting, like Meg said, is when you'll be assigned to your priority area or your team. Every team should have about 10 to 14 applications, and starting really quickly, starting on March 1st is when you will have access to your team and to your group of applications that you will be assigned to review. Those will all be in WiseHive, which we'll go through here in a little bit. We will give you access on March 1st, and we would like all of the reviews and scores completed in the system by March 31st. Once all the reviews are complete, there is 2 meetings that are required to attend. One is the first one, which is the recalibration meeting. That's where we will show you the composite score, the aggregate of everyone's scores for each application on a spreadsheet, and you guys will really talk about the merits of the program. At that time, you really won't see any of your budget. You're really just focusing on the merits of the program. The second meeting, the funding meeting, which will most likely take place at the beginning of May, that's when you receive your budget for the team, and you divvy those dollars up. So just again, to foot stomp that it's going to be really, really competitive this cycle. So to keep in mind that it's okay to not fund programs, because the reality is that probably each team will not be fund. There's going to be programs that you just can't fund. So to keep that in mind as you are going into those conversations. During that funding meeting is when you'll make the final funding recommendation as a team. And then each team will be led and facilitated by a returning volunteer who will be your team lead. And they will liaise with the United Way team to get all of the team's final funding sheets together, and we'll review them as a whole before we take them to the board the first week of June. So we really want you to be involved in the conversation during these meetings and really bring your unique voice and perspective and lived experience to this investment process, and really ensure that the donor dollars are invested as wisely as possible and are there to make the greatest impact that they possibly can. I do like to remind everyone that these meetings do occur during the workday. What day and what time they occur varies by team. Sometimes people will send out like a doodle poll or something like that to kind of get a feel for what works best for each individual team. But I would say the meetings generally last 2 to 3 hours, depending. Something that I highly recommend as well, it's not a requirement, but if your team is able, I recommend getting together for 15, 20, 30 minutes before the recalibration meeting to just introduce yourselves and kind of chat about where you're at in the review process. And it kind of helps break that ice in advance. I find that those teams that do that have a little bit of an easier start to the recalibration meeting and getting that conversation flowing. But that's just my recommendation. So we anticipate that you'll spend about 10 to 15 hours reading and scoring the applications. I always recommend reading first for content and second for criticism. So reading it all the way through one time without the rubric or without the scores up, and then the second time going in and really being more having a more critical eye when going through the application and assigning the scores. Like I said, each meeting will go about 2 hours. Sometimes they can go 3. Sometimes it can go less. It really just depends on your team, how many applications you have, the quality of your conversation. So their estimates, we estimate everything together will be 15 to 20 hours. The review time is an estimate as well. Some people are quick readers. Some people are not. It's flexible. So when you start reviewing the applications, we just want to be cognizant of what we are really evaluating the programs on. So what are we looking for? The clear and manageable focus, the target populations, and our priority matrix, essentially, what our funding priorities are. There is a document. I will show you here a sample on this next slide. What that looks like. Everything that I'll show you with the priorities are all things that the agencies and the programs have access to during their LOI and application process. So we have a lot of transparency and a lot of technical assistance and open communication with the organizations that are applying. And they know what we are looking at when we're evaluating programs, and that, you know, what kind of barriers are they trying to eliminate? What populations are they trying to reach? What is their funding request, and is it reasonable? Things like that. So here is a sample of the priority matrix. Everyone will receive a copy of this document. Available to you for when you begin your application review. This is from our basic needs crisis response category. You can see here, this is the food access team, and here's kind of what we define food access programs: providing healthy and emergency food support, utilizing best practices. And then our priorities for these programs that you're evaluating are those that have choice and also are accessible and have delivery options. So breaking down those barriers so that their services are accessible by as many community members as possible. Over here on the right, you can see number served, and then pick one, and it says meals or food units. These first two here are required for them to report on. So this right column is what they have to report on for us. They are the bare minimum of what we hold them accountable to. It says optional. referrals, education and training, and other services. Most of the time, the organizations and programs do go above and beyond in providing data that they may be collecting for other programs as well. So we get a lot of really great information from this, but this is what they at least have to do. So they know what the expectation is as far as some of that reporting compliance and what we are looking for as far as prioritization goes. So like I said, this was available to all the organizations, so they know what we're looking for. When in this slide here, when we're looking at the basic needs health category, this looks a little bit different than the last slide, and that the right column is just one. So the previous slide had a section assigned to each team. Here with the health section, pardon me, you can see that physical health, behavioral health, and health promotion all report on the same thing. So that doesn't mean behavioral health and health promotion don't have to report on anything, because nothing is by their side. It just means that they are all reporting on the same thing here, which is numbers served, and then education and training or health services and some other optional data points. But again, you'll see the team definition, and then what we are looking for as far as a priority in programming. This is a sample of what our rubric looks like. It's a pretty standard Likert scale. It's not all 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Some questions are 0 to 4, 6, 8, or just a 0 to 4. Each part of the rubric will have, you'll see here shortly after this slide, I'm going to get into WiseHive and show you the application and the scoring. So you'll see that there's a header on each. So for example, here's program budget, and these are examples of questions regarding the budget. And then each one has a corresponding scale to it. In addition to just this scale, underneath each strongly disagree, disagree, somewhat agree, agree, and strongly agree, there are additional considerations that can kind of help if you're on the fence between a 2 and a 3, or a 0 and a 1, or a 3 and a 4, what have you. It will help kind of guide you one way or another based upon some additional considerations. I just want to encourage you to definitely utilize this rubric. My personal recommendation is to print out a hard copy and use that as you are reviewing and scoring. But when it comes to scoring, it's very much a balance of like the art and the science of it. So we want to encourage you to really find a balance. I know some of us are more inclined to hold tight and fast, and rubric is law, and some of us take it as a gentle suggestion. So we want to see how we can find a good balance between that. You will have several applications that you're going over. So just some helpful tips that I would like to share would be to not try and score the applications across the range of the application. You want to score each application kind of like against the rubric and against itself. And it's not about who has the best development team or who has the best grant writer. We tried to simplify some of the applications to make it more equitable, limit some word counts, things like that. But truly, we want you to look at the heart and the quality and the merits of the programming, and not necessarily who has the best writing or spelling or grammar, and try to get down to the quality of the services provided. We also want to encourage you to not necessarily fill in the blanks for them, that they are very aware of what information is helpful and what they are being scored against. So what they give you is is what they give you. So I wouldn't try to fill in the blanks or make any assumptions. Sometimes you just got to go with what you have. It might seem like more of a vibe check. Some is a little bit more of a one-to-one comparison, but a lot of this is just using your gut and remembering that this portion is just one ingredient. The scores, the rubric, this is just the first step of several steps in getting to those funding distributions. So it's a great solid foundation, but don't hold too tightly to it. We want you to give yourself some grace with it. All right, before I get into Wise Hive, I want to stop and see, Meg, do we have any more questions from the chat?
We do not have any additional questions at this time, no.
Okay, then I would also like to open up the opportunity for any returning volunteers who have gone through this process before. If you have any helpful tips or tricks that has been really helpful for you, or things that you kind of cling to as good reminders for you through this process. If you want to share those, you can either come off mute or share it in the chat while I get Wise Hive set up. That would be great.
Hi, this is Marco who's speaking. One thing that I found really helpful while reviewing the applications is taking notes and then highlighting, either like printing off the application and highlighting things or making notes on a separate sheet. Because sometimes when you're going back and forth from the rubric to the application, it's kind of a little bit difficult, but if you kind of make all your notes and highlight your items, then it's easier to kind of jot everything down in the rubrics.
That is great, Marco, especially since I'm going to show you how to make note-taking easier with our new grant management system. So that is a perfect segue.
Tiffany, before you jump in, Kay,
Yeah.
I know you had, I saw Kay raise her hand, so I want to give her a chance. I think if she had something to chime in.
Oh, yes, please.
I know that the first time that I scored, I was worried about doing it right. And I just want to remind everyone that your perspective is right. There's no right or wrong score. When you get together in your recalibration meetings with the rest of your team, you'll each get an opportunity to share your different perspectives. And that may or may not influence your takeaway, but you will get a chance to talk about that. So don't be nervous about scoring and getting it wrong. There's no wrong. You're going to have a reaction and a response to what you read, and that is going to be right. And you'll have the opportunity to share those perspectives, especially if they're very different amongst your team. That's okay. You'll get a chance to kind of talk that out, vet it, and use that information for your recommendations.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kay. That's such an excellent point. It's really the diversity in the volunteers that we have here and their perspectives that they bring to these teams that really make this such a unique and special process. And we want to hear them all. So that's exactly right. And I look forward to those conversations. So thank you for the reminder. Do we have anything else before I move into Wise Hive?
I would just add, Tiffany, Kelly noted in the chat, definitely like keeping notes as you go, because the applications can definitely start to blend together. For example, if you're on, a program where you're reviewing food programs, it can be hard to remember the unique qualities and intricacies about each individual program. So definitely taking notes and really figuring out what works for you in terms of reviewing. So I would recommend, a volunteer said this yesterday, not procrastinating and waiting till the last minute. Our team is reviewing right now, and I can say that we can feel the procrastination. So it can be a lot and seem like a lot. So really set yourself up for success. If it is reading all of the applications first and then going back and rereading and scoring, but really giving yourself the time and really figuring out what works for you would be my biggest suggestion.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing how fast time goes when you really get into scoring the applications, and we want to make sure that everyone on the team gets the opportunity to have their voice be heard with every application they review. So that is great advice. Thank you, Meg. All right, so I am going to dive into Wise Hive. Meg had mentioned earlier about a bulk email coming in that will provide you with some links to set up your profile, and this is where you'll be able to put in your priority area preference for which team you'll be on. I very expertly circled in red here with a star. There are 2 links, and both of them, it's very important that you click and use both of them. So when you are signing up to review applications, it's starting here with this link and setting up your account. And that looks like this. So it will bring you to a page that looks like this. You type in your email address, you click continue, and then you'll be able to put in your password, and then that creates the account for you. When you go back to the second link here, this is where you will submit your reviewer survey and your profile information. So you have your account and then you have your profile, and they will need to be connected by us. So the admin in the back, we will connect the account and the profile. But the profile information here is really short, sweet, and simple. If you've ever bought something online, it's probably less intrusive than that. So just a few questions and some points to fill out pretty quick. Once those are both completed, then we will connect those together, and that is when we can assign your applications. So if on March 1st, you don't have any applications or access to your team, it's probably because one of these 2 are missing. So we'll be able to see that and be able to fix that for you. But if you can get both of these in, that will set you up. That will set you up right away. I'm not gonna show you how to go in and set up the profile because I don't have another email address to set up another profile, but I have everything set up here, which is gonna be super exciting. Oh my goodness. This has happened sometimes. They said I usually don't have errors with it, but of course I
You
do
can always
today.
count on
See,
that when you do a live demo, right?
it
Part
happened
of it.
yesterday too. For an error I never even got, and then I just refreshed the page and it was fine.
We'll give you some grace.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm not used to live driving, so I appreciate the grace. So once you are in Wise Hive and you have all of your applications assigned to you, they will pop up like this. These are all of our little test programs. They've been a lot of fun to fill out, but we're going to pick on Meg's test program today. So you can see that I've started some of these. This is what it will look like when it's in progress, but not completed. So when you go into review, you'll click here. I do want to let you know that I only have 6 in here right now, but if you are on a team that has 12 or 14 applications assigned, there are 2 pages. Please do not forget to go to the second page. We've had that happen before, and some people have missed out on the opportunity to score some applications. So please make sure that you are seeing all of the applications that have been assigned to you. So it's pretty simple. We start our review here. And it pops up. So this is the application. And it kind of starts off with organizational budget, gets into some program budget. Then We have some budget narrative, which is, I think, is super exciting and really helpful. And then we get down into the program application and the questions. Here you can click this drop-down menu, and if there are attachments that they have submitted along with their application, like if they have submitted their own budget instead of trying to make things fit into the template provided, they can submit that. If there's their audit or board approved financial statements, their 990, some people have submitted videos or testimonials, marketing materials. You can find all of these form attachments here. My favorite button ever is this handy dandy button right here where it says feedback. When you do that, it splits your screen, and this has made me so happy. The first question it will ask you is, do you have a conflict of interest? If you do, and you click yes, then it will close out the application and send a notification to our team to check on that for you. If you click no, then the rest of the score sheet will pop up. You can see here that there is a drop down, and then you will see the Likert scale here. That's just a drop down and select. The comments, this is what makes me the happiest out of all the things. For each section, there you can write your comments and questions here. So one thing that this does not have that our former GMS had is that you cannot submit questions to the agencies through this portal. So if you have questions, please write them here. If you have comments or notes, you can write them all down here for each section. And then we want you to bring those questions with you to your recalibration meeting. There will be a staff member, a UWM staff member at each meeting. So we will answer what we can, and what we cannot, we will take back to the agencies and get those answers for you. And that way, when we start our funding meeting, we can start off with the answers to those questions, and finish any last minute adjustments before digging into the fund distributions there. Pardon me. So this is for each section. So this is the financial organization review. This is for the program budget. Any comments here? And it just, yeah, it goes all the way through. So the comments, if you need to stop before you have completed your review, then you can fill it out and then click down here at save draft. This usually doesn't happen. I tested it earlier. I apologize. I don't know what happened. It did not do this to me before I came on here. But if you click save draft, then it gives you the option to go back to the main screen where it says review or continue. And then that blue review turns into that yellow continue button. When you are done completely, your total score is here. That really doesn't mean a lot right here. You don't know what the aggregate is, but that helps our team compile all of the data from your team and have it available for when that recalibration meeting starts. When you are done, you just click submit, and then it is submitted. If for some reason you do not, like you have a change of heart on something, or you feel like you want to go back and change a score. I mean, we do want you to kind of go with your initial gut, but if there's something that you feel is really important that you change right away, and remember, this is just an element. A lot of those changes will be made during those recalibration meetings and be a part of that conversation. But if you really want to make that correction here, we do have the ability to open it back up for you so that you can make those changes as needed. All right. Anyone have any questions as far as navigating WiseHive?
I'll just add, Tiffany, this was a question that came up yesterday in terms of conflict of interest. Really what we're looking for here is maybe if you serve on the board of an organization that might be under your review, or if you have a family member that works for the organization. And if you have questions, you can, of course, reach out to us. Likely what we'll do in that scenario is just not have you evaluate that specific proposal. And team can go ahead and discuss that program without having your scores in. So it does not disqualify you from participating in the process or anything like that. We just would not have you review that specific one. That's all I had there. Thanks, Tiffany.
Yeah, thank you. If at any time you want the feedback to go away as well, you can close it. And then the button reappears here. So it might be helpful for some of you who are reading through for the first time to not have that open. So you're just focusing on the content. So you can open and close that if you wish. If you do want a PDF of the application, you just switch to the PDF view and it will allow you to print or download it here. So that is Wise Hive. And we are happy to serve as any technical assistance that you have as you're navigating this new system. There will always be some speed bumps as we are working through a system that we're not all familiar with. So we are happy to support you however we can. And I promise you these error messages only happen when I am in a meeting. All right, let me take this. All right, so now that we've talked about scoring and what the scoring looks like in the system, we can talk about what scoring will look like when we're in the recalibration meeting. So the scores here are all an aggregate, and they will be listed here underneath score. So this is what your funding sheet will look like when it comes to that recalibration meeting. Everything on here will be included except for these red numbers right here. This budget will not be available. These are just sample distribution numbers, but you will see the name of the team, the definition, again, the programming priority, and then the columns for the agency, the program, their request, the number anticipated served, any unique notes about their population or geography. And then our UWM finance team also does a financial risk assessment. It's a pretty simple red, yellow, green. Green means great, yellow means and red means not so great. And then, like I said, here is the aggregate score. And here's the total request. So in the past, for those of you that are returning, we have had a column that shows what they were previously funded at. That column is no longer there. We have chosen to take that out. If it's an important part of the conversation that everyone would really like to know, we are happy to answer that. That is part of why we were there, is to provide any historical context and answer any of those questions. So if you guys do need to know that number, we do know those numbers, but we have chosen to take it out of the spreadsheet initially. And then when you are in that recalibration meeting, based upon the information that is all here together, you can choose to keep it as is, or that's when you start talking about the qualities and the merits of the programs, and things might shift. Every team kind of has its own personality with how they approach this and how they go about maybe re-ranking something. It's kind of up to the team. The team leads are really great about offering a few different suggestions of different ways that you can kind of enter into the conversation or start looking at it. So just because it starts out this way doesn't mean it stays that way. And that's why we say that that initial scoring is really just one part of the scoring process. And I know down here in big red letters, I wrote, again, it's okay to not fund a program. I just want to encourage you all. This is such an incredible process, and we get to do so much for the community. We get to do a lot of great stuff, but we can't do it all. So just know that not everyone will get funded, and that is okay. And you know, even if it doesn't feel great in the moment, I think keeping the frame of mind, like, look what we get to do, look what we have done, is much more impactful in having a positive experience than really focusing on, but I wish I could do more. So I would just like to encourage you all to know that we can't do it all, but we have full confidence in our volunteers that they will do great with this. All right. Other than that, I don't have much else to add. I'm happy to answer any questions. That bulk email with the survey and the login instructions that we were talking about, that should come, I believe, either today or tomorrow. We do need those profile and account information filled out by the end of day Monday. It's going to take us a minute to get everyone assigned to their teams and all the applications assigned to the teams. So if you could have that to us by 5 p.m. on Monday, that would be fantastic. And then we will ensure that on March 1st, you have access to your team and all of your applications, and you can begin reviewing that day. But that's what I have for you guys. So I am happy to answer any additional questions. Our team is here. We'll stick around for a little bit. So if you got everything you needed, I'm glad I got to give you a few minutes back. But if not, we're here to help.
I'll just add, Tiffany, I know one question that probably a lot of people have is when will our follow-up meetings be scheduled in terms of the recalibration meeting and the final funding? We'll be meeting with all of the identified team leads in the next couple of weeks to kind of come up with that schedule and see what that looks like. So our goal will be to have those meetings on your calendar before the end of this month. So that way you can do some planning and such around work or other things, because we know that can be a challenge at times. So we will be in touch with those dates as soon as possible, definitely before the end of the month.
Sounds like there's no other questions. We're going to go ahead and hang on here in case anybody has any last minute things, but just want to say thank you all again for your time and commitment to this process. This is really the community voice, directing dollars where they're needed most. So thanks for the work that you're about to do. And we want to make sure that this process is as smooth as possible. So give us feedback along the way, reach out to your liaisons and let us help you, and don't spend any time, right? If you're banging your head against the wall or something because something's not working, let us know. We don't want you to spend more time running into any roadblocks if you have them. So, but otherwise, have a great rest of, like the team said, have a great rest of your week. It's Friday Eve, right? So
Oh, thank you.
Hey, United Way staff, I just wanted to stay on real quick just to commend you guys for sunsetting EC Impact. I would say that was one of the most frustrating components of the CERT process in the past. So like, kudos to you guys. I don't even know, I haven't even been into the new system yet, but I'm excited. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. That was definitely led by your feedback, and hopefully I didn't do too terrible and lead you through the system. So we're excited too.
It looks intuitive. So thanks again.
Yeah.
Have a good day, guys.
Take care,
Thanks,
Nick.
Nick.
Great. Team, I will go ahead and give you guys a call. Okay, thanks all.